listening to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
What's going on, Forgers? Welcome to Season 3, Episode number 109 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about, you guessed it, Heroes of the Storm. As always, this podcast is brought to you by our rockstar supporters on patreon.com/HeroesForge. This is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and I'm here with the co-host of the show, who is more awesome than a casual Friday. It's Kristen Ashton.
Best part about Casual Friday, getting to wear jeans to the office. What about you, Jeff? What's your favorite part about Casual Friday?
I don't know why. I think it must be an age thing, but I'm getting really into Hawaiian shirts.
Tommy Bahama? Are you going full brand name?
I can... if I was rich, I would totally go a Tommy Bahama route. I'm more like the Costco Hawaiian shirt on sale. I live in Southern California, so there are Hawaiian shirts like everywhere because it's like a wannabe Hawaii in a way. So I don't know why. I can distinctly remember being in college and in high school and making fun of people that wear Hawaiian shirts. Not making fun of them, but just the fact that, you know, why is that person wearing a Hawaiian shirt? Now when I see one, I'm like, I could wear that on a casual Friday.
So what color scheme then do you go for, right? Because we've got crazy blues, lots of bright oranges. Sometimes there's yellow and green thrown into the mix. So what's the layout on your favorite type of Hawaiian shirt?
The answer is yes. I like them all. I've reached like a Tommy Bahama status with some of the clothes that I like to wear, which, you know, you take it or leave it.
Right, and have we gotten to the socks with sandals yet? Because This is a style I sported in middle school when my dad's store started carrying Tommy Bahama stuff, so we kept getting Hawaiian shirts with a discount. And I loved the sandals with the socks because it kept my feet warm, but at the same time, it's Florida, so you're always going to be wearing sandals.
No on the socks with sandals, like socks with Birkenstocks, or even worse, socks with the thong sandals that go in between your toes. That is not ever going to be a thing for me, I don't think.
Even if you were to get those Japanese socks where there is a groove between the big toe and the smaller toes, so you can wear sandals with the thongs on them.
Yeah, I guess that's different. I don't know. Who knows? I never would have thought I would be wearing Tommy Bahama 10 years ago. Maybe I'm just going to be, you know, wearing nothing but shawl-colored sweaters and socks with sandals and Birkenstocks.
Exactly. And then for Christmas, from me to you, the cargo khaki pants shorts.
That's right. I'll bring back the cargo khaki shorts. And then what do you put in the pockets? Like fishing gear or something like that.
Whatever you want, man. Coins, loose change is a big one. Receipts, Game Boys.
Cigar humidors, things like that, walking around.
But if you want to go fancy, you can. No one's going to stop you.
No one can stop us now, and that actually brings us an amazing segue to our first piece of little Heroes Forge news here. We have a amazing patron that we need to thank. A brand new patron, Spencer Watson of the Heroes of the Dorm NAU team, has become a patron of the show. Thank you so much for your incredible generosity and helping the show grow, and the show is going to grow because of our new patron. We're just steps from getting to our new patron goal that Kristen and I have just decided on what it's going to be. And Kristen, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what we're thinking?
So this goal will be flash forges, very similar to what we did with Trolls, the Nexus Trolls, where it's a quick little 15-minute, we get a hero, and what are the coolest heroics we can come up with in that time period? Yeah,
it's going to be a ton of fun, and we're just $4 from that patron goal. So if you aren't supporting the show yet and you've been thinking about it, head on over to patreon.com/HeroesForge to help make that patron goal happen. Just $4 off of that, and then every week we're going to be bringing you, bringing the patron-exclusive Flash Forges, where you can check out these short little 15-20 minute episodes of craziness. And who knows, those will be characters that are part of Blizzard universes, aren't part of Blizzard universes. It can be anything, and we won't know what each other are forging until that very second, and then we have to come up with something on the fly. It was a ton of fun when we did it on the Nexus Trolls, and I want to bring that to everybody again, so check out that site to make it happen. Thank you again, Spencer, for getting us that much closer to our first patron goal. Rock star. Thank you so much. Speaking of Heroes of the Dorm, let's talk about Heroes of the Dorm hype. It's everyone's favorite time of year. At least I feel like it's everyone's favorite time of year. Heroes of the Dorm it started. The qualifiers have started for all of these college teams. And we talked about this last year, and I want to bring it up again. How it's growing, Kristen. Like, I've heard from a few teams that I know, people that play on them or are part of that school, and esports is gaining enough following for these schools to start getting involved officially with things like Heroes of the Dorm.
It makes me kind of sad that I'm not in college at this time because of this, right? Video games are gaining traction as legitimate school sports where money is being funneled into. And that used to be just football or whatever team in your school was actually successful.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I know last year, Irvine College, they did the first ever school sponsor. They had those amazing like backgrounds like you see when you get interviews from like these physical sports that we see all the time. They had them for esports, and it was so cool. And I love to see that other schools are finally picking this up and rolling with it. It's just getting that support gets people to try out. We're going to getting scholarships for esports, those sorts of things, getting your name out there. So if you're not sure what Heroes of the Dorm is, make sure you check out the official Heroes of the Storm website. It'll link you over to the Heroes of the Dorm page. There's a lot of stuff going on, starting with the qualifiers and then moving into when we can all make our brackets like the March Madness. And we're going to see this year, Kristen, who wins.
I know, and I love doing the brackets. I feel this is the first time in my life where the brackets make sense because I know enough about Heroes of the Storm to make informed decisions. It feels great.
Yeah, it's so fun, and getting to know the players on those teams and the colleges is really cool. If you are a college student out there and you want to get your school involved, start talking to people because I know a lot of schools are picking this up. So lots of cool stuff happening in the Heroes universe. This is just a reminder that we're just finishing up a Divinity 2 stream, which we play on twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson. If you've yet to experience this on Sundays at 2 o'clock Pacific, it's so cool. Just the game is so fun and so deep, and there's a million things that can happen, and we've had some crazy stuff happen recently.
Exactly. You ever wonder what happens when you activate a doomsday device? Well, we found out. And the answer is the music gets really good. That's
right. That's exactly the only thing that had happened. JK Rowling. There was a lot that happened there. But check out the stream. We'll be doing that live today at 2 o'clock on twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson. Other things that are happening in this universe is that I'm actually taking part in Creators of the Storm this year. It's going to be happening on February 24th at 1 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/TrollsGG. That's the Nexus Trolls site. They're an awesome podcast that you should totally listen to. We guested on that show, and it was a blast, actually, where we got the idea for the Flash Forge was from that show. Check it out. Trolls.gg is their website, but Creators of the Storm is a whole bunch of content creators for Heroes of the Storm, including this show and all of your other favorite shows are getting together to play a tournament. It's going to be a wacky and fun tournament where we're going to be playing different types of team comps, Alliance versus Horde, maybe all monsters versus all humanoids, really crazy stuff, maybe all auto-select, and I get to show off just how little I know about this game.
Or how much. I mean, are you going to be teamed with anyone specific? Do you have a team name or anything? Or are you just going to be bounced around healing everybody?
We have a team name. It is Lords of the Hype Forge. And we're going to be partnered up with some guys from Lords of the Storm and Heroes Hype, playing some games. And I guess there's some rivalries from last year, so hopefully I can pull through and help them succeed in defeating their bitter rivals.
Ooh, who are the bitter rivals then? What's going on? The light side, the dark side?
Yeah, that's about as much as I know. I know TBK Zord on my team has got some throwing some shade at some other people that he played last year, and they're throwing it right back. So it's a ton of fun. It's going to be a blast. Check it out. February 24th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And again, the website is trolls.gg for more info on the entire thing and who is participating. Tons of podcasts out there. Let's talk about some heroes that we like to see in the Nexus. I mean, I lost my words there because we do this so much.
I know, we get going, it's like, wait, where's the transition? Here's the transition, we got it. We're moving forward, we're moving ahead, because today we have a character who loves to keep pushing forward in search of adventure, but more importantly, treasure.
That's right. Beautiful segue. Let's say it. Let's forge.
Let's forge.
This week, just like every week, we help bring heroes that aren't in the Nexus to life in our minds and imaginations. It's like a Disney vacation commercial.
It is, except neither of us have dressed up like the characters. Officially. I mean, there's still a chance. Maybe when we get to that $1,500 Patreon goal, we cosplay each episode as the hero.
I am so down to put that on there because your cosplay is amazing, and I would just be, you know, the little cosplay that we've done on the show with like a little Harry Potter, Halloween sorts of things is so fun. So yeah, let's put it on there. $1,500. We'll do cosplay every single day, not even the days that we're doing it on the show.
We'll get our Snapchat going. We'll get the phones with those little backs that you can rest between your two fingers. You get all the cosplay perks that HeroesForge was meant to do.
Absolutely. We're talking about a hero from one of our favorite IPs to talk about on the show today. And Kristen, who are we forging today?
Today we are taking on legendary explorer Reno Jackson.
Reno Jackson. What a great name, first of all.
It really is. It captures the adventurer's spirit, right? Well, I mean, Reno is definitely one of those cities in Nevada, Reno, Nevada, that kind of like Las Vegas, no stories are meant to escape that place.
That's right. I mean, it's great. I was telling you a little bit about before the show that I don't know why. I just love this character. Like, I love the idea of Reno Jackson.
Well, you were comparing him to Jack Sparrow, and then he's an adventurer, and when the times call for it, he's a good guy, but he does have ulterior motives, and it paints him in more of a gray than it does an Indiana Jones good guy, bad guy, white and black kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I think that analogy of Reno Jackson and kind of like this Indiana Jones Jack Sparrow mashup is really, really interesting. Now, because this character is from Hearthstone, I mean, the League of Explorers lives inside of World of Warcraft, but Reno Jackson is basically from Hearthstone that we know and love. So there's not a ton of backstory for Reno, but what we do know has helped us forge these kits for Heroes of the Storm if Reno was to make it in there someday, which I totally think is absolutely possible. So Kristen, why don't you give us a little background on what we know about Reno Jackson?
A not-so-honest probationary member of the League of Explorers, Reno Jackson is a unique hero to the Hearthstone pantheon added in 2015. As he says, he is a world-renowned archaeologist, explorer, and treasure hunter, but that is up for debate. When not treasure hunting, Reno has proven himself a party boy, making it even to the famed One Night in Karazhan.
That's right, the party boy Reno Jackson. I absolutely believe that this would be an awesome character to bring into Heroes of the Storm.
And that brings up the question, him first or Harrison Jones first? And honestly, I think Reno would probably be the stronger of the two choices.
Absolutely. And it's the character that makes that happen. We all love Harrison Jones. We've talked about Harrison Jones on this show before, built kits for Harrison Jones, and it's really cool. That lives more in my mind at least, an Indiana Jones type of character. You know, we had a lot of ideas that were inspired from that when we were talking about him. So I think Reno lives in just a different realm, and the humor in it would work really well in Heroes of the Storm.
It would, because Heroes of the Storm, let's face it, loves its gray characters and bringing them to the Nexus. Very rarely do we have a character that is 100% good with no ulterior motives going on whatsoever. And you're right with the Indiana Jones. That's a lot of nostalgia right there. And I think Blizzard would very much like a Blizzard character in their game, not an Indiana Jones character in the game.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting, when you go out and you're doing, archaeology with Reno Jackson, you have to make sure that he brings all of these artifacts back to the museum, where Indiana Jones is more of a character that's like, that belongs in a museum. We're going to take it and make sure it gets back there. Reno's more out for himself.
Yeah, and the pictures even prove this, right? I love going through the art because he always has some fantasy gem or special item on him. Either in the hot tub in Karazhan, he's wearing this gold necklace that is clearly pilfered, or when he's standing there with the League of Explorers, the golden monkey is in his satchel. And I don't know if the rest of the explorers know this.
Yeah, they kind of just put up with him because he's probably good at what he does, or at least / lucky.
I like / lucky, a little bit of both, right? Where he pretends he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's probably the smartest guy in the room.
And that mustache is real. I wish I could grow a mustache like that.
Me too, but sometimes the cards are not in our favor.
All right, let's get into it. And the first thing we always talk about is role classifications. I'll go first this week, and I am going with a specialist.
Nice. I debated between specialists. This was one that I had trouble with. What about you?
I had trouble. I really thought at the beginning that I was going to go with a warrior, like some sort of crazy kind of warrior that could do peel in a different way. And he's a big bulking guy. I mean, he's definitely hit the gym a couple of times, so maybe his tune could be a bigger character in Heroes of the Storm. But I ended up thinking, as I'm putting these things out, specialist feels good.
Yeah, definitely. So talking about how big he is, how big of a character model would you have on the map?
I think he's as big as Varian. Like, I think he's that big. I mean, if you think about the physique of Varian and Reno, I think they're similar. I mean, I would think so. So probably about the same size.
Yeah, definitely. But with Reno, you get the little pot belly going.
Yeah, he's definitely got like a beer belly.
Yeah, he totally does. And maybe there's a Natty Light cosplay Reno out there somewhere.
Absolutely. This brings me to something that I have to talk about, because it is something that I am super, super passionate about for some weird reason. On the data mining for Battle for Azeroth, they have data mined that some of the, I believe it's Coltiran humans, they're going to have different physiques. They're going to have like a super skinny human now, and then a heavier human in the mix. And I want those models to be playable so bad.
So what's a Coltaran human then? I mean, that's great they're going with physique changes. I love it.
They're like a pirate culture and all this stuff, and I'm probably off on it a little bit because I'm trying to avoid all of the spoiler stuff inside of Battle for Azeroth. But I saw these models and I thought, I want to play that so bad, like down to the point where if the expansion came out and said you can play all of the new content, or you can start from level 1 with this other sub race, I would do it.
Perfect. So you just dress up as a pirate and then run around drinking grog and singing and drink up me hearties yo-ho.
Absolutely. And that segue, or that sidebar, is now completed, and we can start talking about Reno Jackson again and his natty light skin.
His natty physique.
Dad bod. The dad bod. Let's get into my trait for my specialist version over here, and it's called, you guessed it, we are gonna be rich. So this is a passive trait for Reno, and it's super simple. He will be able to gain XP for his team passively, no matter where his location is on the battlefield. He will not gain XP in the traditional ways, killing minions and taking down structures. He just gains it passively, and it'll allow Reno to focus on other things that are happening on the battlefield and not always have to be in the lane.
How nice is this? So I'm guessing it's just going to be a set number of XP every few seconds or every minute or so.
Yep, kind of like a Brightwing Pulse heal. He would just every so often, and whatever that number is, maybe if you take it, you'd have to do the math of the storm and get it real tight and be like, okay, if he was laning, this is how much XP he would be gaining. So maybe we take a little bit away from that, but we give it to him passively, where it pulses XP for his team continuously throughout the battle, and that's just because he's stealing stuff.
That's so great, right? He's stealing XP from the enemy team or the lanes or whatever. And you team him up with Ragnaros and suddenly you don't even need lane presence anymore. Take that, laning phase.
Think about it, right? So imagine if you could afford for a portion of the time, you'd have to make it so that it was less, but you could afford for a portion of the time to not have a lane covered because you wanted to capture some other objective or something like that. Something similar to this, if not this exactly, would be really cool to have in the game because you would have to draft against it, right? Maybe if you drafted a Sonya against this who's got a really strong lane presence, you'd put her in the lane that Reno Jackson wasn't. So then you could, counteract there being nobody there, then they would have to respond. It'd be a cool thing.
Yeah, so in that case, are you thinking Reno, when he gets back to the lane, would have a strong push power? Or are you thinking it's more the fact that he can be more active on the map that's the strength, not necessarily lane pushing?
Yeah, I think more active on the map is a good way of putting it. I want him to be a strong merc guy. I want him to be a real, for lack of a better term, like jungler. Like you're really in the mercs, you're really out there capturing mercs, and that's your focus. You can engage in battle, but that's your main focus.
Yeah, and character-wise, it speaks to him, right? He's pretty selfish when it comes down to it. Reno comes first, and that's a great way to express that in this game. I'm going to be in the jungle.
Yeah.
You guys get lane.
I
Right?
Yeah, I got this, guys.
I was grabbing camps.
Yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back in a few.
Ah. Give me 5.
How's he going to drive through the jungle on his mount, obviously, which is going to be like a 1942 army jeep? That's really what I want him to drive.
Oh, that's so cool. Would there be a way to have it so it looks like he's driving through thick brush
all the time, or like a rocky road all the time where the car really is never driving smoothly? It's always like, kapooing across the battlefield.
I like it. Maybe there's black smoke coming out of the muffler in the back.
Full of treasure. Maybe that's one of the skin tents, is like in the back of the Jeep. It's just a bunch of treasure.
Exactly. And then you could have one where it's got a flap over the back and occasionally the flap comes up and you see the box that has the Ark of the Covenant in it.
Absolutely. I love it. Or the golden monkey or something like in the back of it. It'd be really, really cool. So yeah, I just think that would be such a cool look for that. And let's get into some basic abilities here. So the first one is inspired from a Hearthstone card. His Q ability is called Forgotten Torch. Stick with me here and tell me if you think that this is gonna be able to work, if you'd be able to control this. So I imagine that this would be it would have 2 different ranges. If the target is in melee range and this is activated, Reno will swing a burning torch at the enemy and deal a small amount of damage. The cooldown for this would be short, allowing Reno to swing away. So before I go on, I should say, I picture Reno to have like maybe a little whip in one hand, and then in the other hand he's always carrying this torch, right? He's always got it. That'll really what's the word I'm looking for? It really sets him apart on the battlefield in his silhouette, as he's always got this torch up in the air. So when you activate this and somebody's close, it swings and it hits him with the torch. He can hit him with it. Now, if the target is further away, Reno will throw the torch and it deals 2 times as much damage, but it's on a slightly longer cooldown if you choose to do that.
Oh, nice. And would you have to go pick the torch up, or does he just pull out another one?
I think he just pulls out another one, but maybe that's part of the cool animation you could do. Like if he's hitting somebody with it, he can swing it, hit them, but if he throws it, the cooldown will be a little bit longer, and you'll actually see while it's cooling down that he pulls another torch maybe out of his backpack or something and lights it up, and then he's got it again. That'd be a cool idea.
Oh, definitely. And when they're up close, do they take fire damage? And is that damage over time or is it immediate?
I think it's immediate damage. It's always immediate damage here. Kind of choosing the times when you want to throw it to deal twice as much damage for the longer cooldown.
Gotcha. And since it's an auto attack, when you throw it, it hits. As long as that enemy is close enough, you chuck it and it hits them.
Correct. I think it works just like that. So that's Forgotten Torch. Now, it kind of combines in with the second basic ability idea that I have that's called Stash. For every ranged hit of Forgotten Torch, Reno will gain a stack in his stash. These stacks can be used to heal himself or damage mercenaries on the battlefield. So this is how I think it'll work. You'll activate it, and if Reno clicks on himself, he'll pull out a golden chalice and drink to his health, he'll get a little bit of health. If it's activated and then he clicks on a camp, he pulls out some sort of staff artifact that he doesn't quite know how to control, and it shoots a beam at the camp, damaging them. So you can choose whether to deal damage to a camp or heal yourself, and ultimately this will be an awesome merc camping tool.
I love this. I love the color that he doesn't quite know what he's doing. The chalice could grant him immortal life. It could kill him. But, drink up me hearties, yo-ho. And then the staff, maybe he's like looking at it and he clicks something and it shoots off and he startles backward and then realizes he's hit a camp.
Yeah, and then maybe he looks around to make sure that nobody else saw him do what he just did and like, oh yeah, no, I'm cool. I know what's up.
Exactly. And how much damage would this do to a camp? How many times do you think you'd then be able to cast it on a mercenary camp?
Well, you have to gain the stacks from the Forgotten Torch throws. So I think it depends on how many stacks you've gained before you take a camp. Think of it kind of in the same respect as a bribe, but you're dealing the damage, not just straight up buying the camp. So it's not that much. But I love the juggling, like the Illidan sort of juggling, where if you're taking a camp, you're up close to it, you're hitting it with this torch. Maybe you go far enough back to where you can throw the torch, get a stack, then pull out the staff, deal the damage, back and forth. Or you come in with full stacks, who knows?
Gotcha. So you don't even need to hit heroes with the torch. It can be any enemy unit.
Any enemy you can hit with this torch. And I think for the most part, you're going to be doing it on merc camps in my mind. You're going to be wanting to juggle this on and off with merc camps.
Yeah, totally. And how many do you think you'd be able to get enough stacks of this in order to take the camp through your W without once having to perform a basic attack?
Probably not. You'd have to get a good rotation in here of when you're going to use your auto attack, which would be your whip in your other hand. Maybe you do. It's not a super ranged attack, maybe like a Zarya length of an auto attack, with the whip on your left hand and then the torch on your right hand. Yeah, I think you'd have to definitely build a cool little rotation to get this done.
Perfect. I like it. It makes it more active, right? Bribe is fun, but only if you're in and out. Whereas you said this guy is going to be in the jungle pretty much the entire time.
Yeah, and he's not sacrificing anything because he's still gaining XP for his team,
Exactly.
Yeah. So when we think of specialists, we usually can relate to some sort of pushing power or some way to take camps down or be able to take down the walls and structures. So I built this little next ability called Improvise. So when this ability is activated, Reno can ascend a structure and begin to damage it without taking damage from other structures or that structure in the area. While on top of the structure, he is targetable by enemy heroes and will need to activate this again to leave the structure. But that doesn't go without saying that once he deactivates it, he's fully targetable again. So you waltz up to a wall with the towers on it and you've got lane minions there. Maybe you're, attacking, doing your deal. As soon as your minions die, you can activate Improvise. He'll jump up on the tower and start attacking the tower from the top, and the towers can't shoot him from there.
I love how is he attacking these towers?
I have no idea. Maybe he's like, trying to, burn it down. Maybe that's what he's got his torch. He's trying to light it on fire or something. Maybe you could build something in there where it actually takes damage over time because it's lit on fire. That'd be kind of cool.
I like that idea. There's a talent you can leave the torch up there, climb back down, and then you've got this damage over time that you can really use to hopefully take that tower down.
And I don't think this is super OP because if you get in too deep and the enemy team can see you doing this, they're going to come and try to gank you. If your lane minions are dead at this point and they come and you try to, Sergeant Hammer rocket boost out of there, you're not going to have any luck. You just dismount the tower and start running away. Well, they're going to start shooting you. The towers are immediately, and then the enemy team is on you. So when used at the right opportune moment, you could do some damage.
That's true, but like you said, this is all about timing. I mean, getting slowed when you get hit by those towers is so frustrating. And then to add an enemy right there on top of it, you'd need to make absolute sure your other lanes are as busy can be.
Totally. Now, let's talk about heroics. Now, this first one is called No, 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 No. Ah! I was going to scream in the microphone and decided that would be bad radio. So if this heroic is selected and Reno Jackson dies on the battlefield, 2 giant mummy-like mercs will spawn and begin pushing down the lane that Reno was in. This is the result of Reno hoarding some artifact that blessed him with the protection of the mummy. So you're basically gaining a merc camp when you die.
That is great. Would it have more health than a giant's merc camp? Would they be mummy giants? Would they deal magic damage or give some sort of buff or debuff?
I'm thinking this is all great talent stuff, right? Maybe you could talent into a night camp. Maybe you could talent into, whatever you wanted to pick. But in this situation where you've used your E to improvise and jump up on a tower and start, doing whatever it is you're doing to damage that tower, the enemy team comes to gank you. They do end up killing you. Well, when you go down, they also have to deal with these mummies that come up from the ground and start pushing that lane as well. So all about a little bit of time control here. If they don't deal with those characters, or imagine you were pushing with the Zerg wave or something like that, you could just add to your forces if you were to go down.
That's true. And then it makes the enemy team question whether or not you're worth ganking at that specific time. Because if it's going to summon 2 mercs and the enemy team needs to get to an objective, do they have one hero they can leave behind and successfully win a team fight without that person? And the whole idea that even though he's dead, he's still causing trouble to people. Darn you, Reno Jackson!
Reno, no! I love it. So the second heroic is called Choose Wisely. You have chosen wisely. Reno will pull out a magical mirror, this golden mirror that he has found / stolen on one of his adventures. He's going to shine the mirror on the lane, and all of the minions or mercenaries in the lane that are in range of this ability change their allegiance and fight with his team. This can be talented into later in the game to allow Reno to change the allegiance of a boss as well.
Ooh, a level 20. That would make him just perfect for a Cursed Hollow. Oh my goodness. And maybe this is what Sylvanas' possession was missing all along. Maybe as a heroic, you need to be able to, in one click, turn an entire lane of enemy minions into friendly minions.
Yeah, I like this because I think about the times where, I have to go back because I have to defend the core from catapults in one lane. How cool would it be if you could send Reno back and he could take those minions, just the ones that are, in range. I'm thinking it doesn't have a super long range. It doesn't go a whole lane, but it just takes that group. So maybe it's 3 catapults and 1 group of minions that's pushing and turns them around and gets them going the other direction. That's a cool way of kind of countering that lane and then being able to go back out into the jungle and do your thing and get it all done without having to stick there the whole time.
Yeah, and think of how powerful that would be if there was a big enemy minion group up. So you've got at least 2 waves worth built up. But then the question is, if the enemy kills those turned minions, do they get XP? Or are the turned minions not XP?
I think they do. I think you give them XP because the friendly team is going to be playing where they're wanting to group minions up, right? To be able to get a big wave of minions to go. So the give and take would be, I think they would get XP for it.
Cool. I think it's fair at that point. And maybe with number crunching, maybe they get half XP in the future or something. But yeah, that works.
Yeah, it would be something weird like that where they would get sort of a portion of XP, or maybe if you turned a boss around, it would lose half of its health, trying to do something like that. You don't want to make it too strong. You'd have to tweak this a bit, but I love the changing allegiance. Maybe he offers them some gold for their service, and then he doesn't really pay them in the end, and, we just go on to sequels after sequels after sequels.
That should have never been made.
That's right. That is my Reno Jackson specialist build here, starting with this trait that allows him to gain XP for you no matter where you are on the battlefield, riding into battle on a Jeep, carrying that torch that you can smack people with or throw at them, and then changing allegiance of, anybody can be bought.
That's right, especially when they're called mercenaries. I mean, and little minions, that they absolutely can be bought. That's their entire job, is to serve whoever pays them more.
Absolutely. All right, before we move on to Kristen's kit here, we have some people that we need to thank. We need to thank all of our supporters on patreon.com/HeroesForge. Like we said at the beginning of the show, we couldn't do this without you. We're $4 from our next goal, so check out that page. It's patreon.com/HeroesForge, and a huge thank you again to Spencer for helping us get so much closer to that goal. Also, we need to thank everybody out there that has given us a 5-star review on iTunes. It helps the show grow more than you know. Make sure you check out the reviews page of iTunes and drop us a 5-star review, and we'll give you a shout out right here on the show. All right, Kristen, let's get to it. Role classification for your Reno Jackson.
I ended up going with support, but my first thought was specialist. But yeah, after building it, I think about halfway in, I went, no, this needs to be support with a twist. No heals until 10.
Whoa, very cool. And it's definitely support is a feel that you could most 100%, I think that they would probably go down that route just because of his Hearthstone card, that if you have no duplicates in your deck in this Hearthstone deck and you play Reno Jackson, he heals your hero back to full. That is support if I've ever heard it.
Exactly. The heal alone is what kind of tipped the scales. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so cool. I'm glad that you're incorporating that in your kit here. Let's get to the trait.
All right, the trait is don't rub the lamp. Reno Jackson is nothing if not selfish and greedy, often bringing trouble to others that could have been averted. With a backpack packed full of the borrowed pieces of the Staff of Origination, he can choose one of the 3 that then remains activated while he uses them.
Oh, okay. So the Staff of Origination is also something from League of Explorers expansion in Hearthstone, correct?
Correct. The whole adventure revolves around you gathering the pieces of the staff, putting the staff together, and then defeating the big baddie that got you to put the staff together in the first place.
So how does this trait fill into, like, how does he use these pieces, or are we going to hear about that in a bit?
You're going to hear about that, but it's important to note that this is kind of a passive thing. Like you, his basic attack is going to be a whip. If you're an adventurer of this caliber, you're going to use a whip. That's just the unwritten rule. So he'll be able to whip things, but depending upon what piece he's holding, that's going to determine how he's going to support the team.
So cool. All right, well, how's he riding into battle?
A rope swing. It's
Awesome.
He's on a rope and it swings. It just keeps on going until he reaches his destination.
Are we talking about like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull flying with the monkeys sort of swing where he's like, swing after swing after swing? Or are we talking about like it's just one long, he just happens to have his whip on the right branch?
It's just one long swing, and it just goes. Maybe it's on a little pulley system up top that you can't see because that would break the movie magic. But it works.
Absolutely. We're keeping the fourth wall alive here on HeroesForge, and he's swinging into victory. What is his first basic ability?
The first one is the Rod of the Sun. And when held in Reno's hand, he and one other friendly hero gain total immunity from damage. Reno's is permanent, but the ally's shield tends to flicker in and out of usefulness almost as if it has a cooldown.
I love it. So cool. So he's going to activate this, and then it just happens, right? He's holding the Rod of the Sun. He's immune from all damage until he deactivates it.
Correct. And then what you would do is you would choose the hero the buff would go on. So there would be a little bit of a cooldown in terms of when you'd be able to switch this. And of course, it'll flicker in and out of existence. So damage will get through to the other team members occasionally, but it's going to work to be a deterrent of sorts. And I like to imagine the flickering would be random. There wouldn't be a set pattern to when the shield disappears and reappears.
Yeah, it wouldn't be Hearthstone without a little RNG in there.
Exactly.
So here's my couple of other questions. Is Reno able to do auto attacks and all that jazz while he's holding this staff and he's immune? Or is it kind of the feel of a Medivh where you go into Raven form and you can still see and do things and move around the battlefield, but you can't do anything?
He would still be able to basic attack.
Nice. Okay,
On the back line, of course, because you don't want to get hurt as Reno Jackson. You want all of your friends to do the hard work, so you sweep in, take the glory, and call it a game.
That's right, and you're the only one left standing because you've got the Rod of the Sun.
Hey, it's not your fault your team members couldn't fight correctly. You did all you could.
You, in quotation marks, air quotes, you did all you could.
Everything possible.
What's your second basic ability, speaking of doing everything you could?
The second one is headpiece, because this headpiece doesn't have a name. I don't understand why it doesn't have a name. Everything else had a name for this staff, but the headpiece didn't. So we're going with the other lore from Indiana Jones. True to the headpiece of Indiana Jones lore, the staff's headpiece is all about granting vision. When activated, Reno permanently reveals a larger area around his team, peering through even bushes and vents themselves.
Love it. So this is cool. This is like a scouting drone that you can bring along with you everywhere you're going.
Exactly. And it's centered on you because you're holding the headpiece.
So cool. So what does this look like? I mean, you're saying you're going with like an Indiana Jones lore kind of feel here. Does like the sun shine through the crystal in the middle of the headpiece, and maybe like a ring appears around all the heroes and they can see inside the bushes and all of those places? What are you thinking?
Oh man, that's really a really cool visual. I mean, I really like if you're holding it like the what was he a doctor? The one who had the brand burned onto his hand?
Yes.
You hold it like that. And I mean, maybe there's this mist appears along the edges of where the extra sight is. So you know what the extra sight is.
So cool. And Reno's reaction could be like, I don't know what the hell is going on with this thing, but yeah.
You grab your hand and it starts shaking and you've got half the measurements you need.
Oh, so cool. Okay, what about your third basic ability?
All right, the third one is the Pearl of the Tides. Making it easier to quickly become more powerful, the Pearl of the Tides emits an aura that reduces friendly ability cooldowns by 1/4 of a second. If that hero remains in the aura for a second cast, the reduction increases to about 1/2 a second. This stacks a total of 4 times, resulting in a possible full second taken off of cast times.
Love it. I love it. And we talk about these sorts of things on the show all the time. I love the playing a little bit around with cooldown times. I think it's really unique and a cool idea. And I like the idea that he's kind of like a Lieutenant Morales in the background here without a heal. He's supporting everybody and he's kind of just up there on a podium taking all the glory and giving them reduced cooldown. But he's standing there just basically holding artifacts up in the air and just, you know, being a guy.
Exactly. Well, I mean, like you said too, when with the staff and hitting the mercenaries, he doesn't know what these things do. They're probably powerful. They might help his teammates, but he'd rather have them test it out for him than he be the one that tests it out.
Yeah, I promise this is safe, guys. Just stand right over there. I'm going to just, you know, aim this magical laser beam at you, and we're going to see what happens.
Exactly. And then if things go south, I've safely got all of the treasure, so I'll make sure that gets back where it needs to go.
And don't say I didn't warn you that you could possibly die from this.
But it's a team effort. We all need to pull our own weight.
I like to think of myself as the team captain.
Exactly.
What about
I
heroic
lead from
abilities? I'm leading from behind. Yeah,
The team boss.
I'm the team boss, the team dictator. I love it.
Exactly.
What about heroic abilities here?
All right, the heroics are finally where we get some heals for this poor support. He doesn't really want... No, he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's supporting as best he can. The first one is called Back from the Brink, and this is a burst effect centering on Reno, and he's fiddling with something he borrowed, will return to the museum. And when he fiddles with it, there's going to be this power that explodes outward, and it hits any nearby friendly heroes, and this grants them a buff. Now, when this buff is still active on the friendly heroes, should they die, they'll instead come back, kind of like a crystal aegis. There'll be an explosion, and then they'll be healed to full as they come back.
Nice. So I'm thinking this can only happen to one of your heroes, or are all of them affected by it?
Every friendly hero that's close enough to receive the buff after the explosion has gone off.
Wow. And how long does the buff last for?
That's always a good. It's always a tough question. I don't.
Are you thinking
not
like
a full minute. Not a full minute.
Oh, okay. So it lasts for a while.
I would imagine so, and I would imagine this would be one of the most popularly tweaked ability in his kit. But there's a sweet spot in there. I personally just don't know what it is.
It's also the most popular choice.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it, though. This is so cool. So you're combining a whole bunch of heroics and adding a little Reno Jackson spin to it, right? I mean, you've got your Divine Palm here, where if you kill somebody, they come back to life. You got your Crystal Aegis here, where if you kill them, well, no, the crystal explodes. They don't have to die. They just go into like a coma stasis. So Reno is going to buff you with this exploding Divine Palm.
Exactly. So you get to go ham without any fear of repercussion, as long as you have that buff on you. Have fun.
And then when you come back, you get an ancestral heal.
Exactly. Except it doesn't take a few seconds to go off. As soon as the explosion is done, you're back at full.
This is the artifact we all need, but don't deserve.
Well, no one knows how to use it except for Reno. And that's, maybe even he doesn't know.
Maybe that's where the danger in this heroic lives, is the fact that Reno's in charge.
50-50, it's a buff. 50-50, it's a debuff. You never know.
Oh, well, maybe that would be a cool way to play this, too. I mean, this is such a great idea. I love the combining of different types of things that we already see in the game. It's just stellar. So what about your second heroic?
The second one, we're going to be rich. You got to keep that in there. I think that's a line that you have to keep with Reno. And Reno throws up coins that are then able to be collected by his teammates. They fall to the ground and you can kind of pick them up Mario Kart style. And for each coin the friendly teammates receive, they get one stack of an activatable heal over time. These coins last indefinitely and can be picked up by only one friendly hero, or they can be spread out equally amongst the group.
This is amazing. This is right up my alley for the type of ability that I want in the game. I want a support character, as we all know, that puts the supporting in the hands of the other friendlies. And I think this is so cool. Tell me about the animation with We're Gonna Be Rich. I mean, he's throwing these coins up in the air. Is he like making it rain? What does he make it look like?
That's a great question, right? And I love the idea that he would put a hand in his pouch and throw coins up, but maybe that's not Reno. Maybe it's more he's running along, catching up to the team, and he trips and he falls, and coins spread all over the battlefield that he can't pick up. Only his teammates can pick up, and they're gonna pick up those coins.
Maybe that's part of the heroic. Like, maybe you add an additional, like, way too many coins. So let's say that a balanced amount of coins would be 5, right? But instead you add 10. So there's 10 coins, and part of the ability is Reno accidentally tripping and spilling the coins, and he's trying to collect up his treasure while the other people people are being like, wait a minute, where'd you get all this treasure from? Like, we didn't know we had this treasure.
You don't have this treasure.
It is a backwards way of supporting your team. I love it.
I think that would ultimately be the flavor. Like with what you had too. He's a screw up, but in screwing up, he can do some amazing things that really save the team. And he's all for taking credit, whether he meant to do it or not.
Yeah, and the more we talk about it, the more it is like the improvisation of Captain Jack Sparrow sort of feel, where you just grab this rope and you're going to shoot it off the pulley, and wherever it takes you, it's going to lead you to the glory of being, the best in the battle.
Exactly. You've got a general idea of where you want to go and what you're going to do, but you understand life is far too crazy for there to ever be one path to get there.
Too cool. How do you sum this whole build up?
This one, I went away from a short one, and I'm calling this the Reno system. R, react to treasure. E, engage physically. N, notice no one's around. And O, obtain wealth.
And that is exactly what he's going to do, is obtain the wealth. What an awesome kit, Kristen. Support is definitely the way I think Blizzard would go if they made a character like this. Maybe it would be like a multi-class. I'm really stoked to see what type of multi-classes are on the horizon. We've only seen Varian so far being an official multi-class, so I'm curious to see how they're going to bend this. Maybe support specialist would be a really cool multi-class to see. So Reno would fit in that category in a bunch of different ways, and of course you gotta have the heal because of that Hearthstone card. And before we can call this character forged, though, we gotta talk about the best parts. So let's talk about specialty skins and dance moves if Reno was to come in. I'll start this one off. I have 3 skin ideas. So the first one, obviously we've been talking about it all day, is Captain Reno Sparrow. I mean, full on dreads, full on captain's hat, same physique and build. I also feel like he's got this whole this old place where he could be like a Deadwood cowboy type of thing. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, well, he's got that time period and the color scheme, especially. I think if we're comparing this to old Westerns, he has got that color scheme down. So all you do is change up the hat a little bit, and you got yourself a cowboy.
And you add some chaps.
Exactly. Now, would they have pants below the chaps, or would we have a Valentine's Day skin on our hands?
Yes.
Girls like butts.
Whatever will sell loot boxes.
Okay, so buttless chaps then. Can confirm.
Now, the third idea that I had was maybe he didn't get away so easily from one of his adventures, and maybe he got mummified himself. So, like, a Halloween skin for Reno would be a cool, like, a mummified Reno skin. Maybe something like we see in the art for Entomb in Hearthstone.
Oh, nice. So in that case, would he still have his whip and a torch, or would he switch to maybe the rod and that? I don't know what the other thing is.
Like the embalming or something that's on him. Like maybe instead of a whip, he'd be able to have the embalming like an Ariel sort of feel, where it's like the bandages on his arms are falling off and he can whip with that instead of his actual whip.
Oh, I like that one a lot. I like the stories with all of these, but the mummy one's probably the coolest because the paragraph would explain what exploit he didn't exactly come back from.
I mean, it's cool. It's like infested tychus kind of ideas. That's what we like to see. That's what we like to read. Us super nerds out there that read the skin descriptions. I read them all. They're so... Somebody takes the time over there to write these, and I think that is incredible.
Totally, and I like it because it's just enough fan fiction in a sense, right? Here's a cool idea that would make a really cool story, but instead of blowing it all to write a short novel about it, you keep it simple and you keep it just vague enough that everybody can fill in what they want to in the story, and thus it's richer for it.
Go out there and read some of those things if you're not doing it right now. They are great. Like the Queen of Ghosts, Kerrigan, like all of those little blurbs, they fill the gap on so many things that we want in our lives, in our virtual lives. I love it. What's your skin idea?
I'm going with Reno Jackson. And this is because Reno and Scrooge McDuck have a lot in common. They're greedy, but ultimately pure of heart. They know when it's time to give up the gold. Quaxon is a duck man with an expensive-looking top, no pants, and a penchant for turning red when on a killing spree. Kind of like Donald. Do you remember old Donald Duck?
Yep.
How furious he would get? Just like that.
Yeah, like seriously mad all the time.
Oh, yeah, his rage fits took up whole cartoons.
And is this no pants also part of the Valentine's Day skin, or just because ducks don't wear pants?
It's because ducks don't wear pants. At least the ducks of the Disney universe don't wear pants.
Yeah,
unless you're Launchpad McQuack.
He does wear pants. He wears like those, Rocketeer pants.
Exactly. But he's not Launchpad. Launchpad's too good of a guy.
That's true. Launchpad. Man, it's been years since I thought about Launchpad. What about dance moves?
I think he would totally do a fisticuffs. Now, you know the old-time fisticuffs where they hold their fists out in front of them and then they bring up their thumb to their nose and then they do this little dance with their feet as they kind of bounce around from side to side. That's what I would want Reno to do.
I love it. So it's like the Fighting Irish logo for Notre Dame. Like that's sort of like having your arms out like that and being able to do like some sort of, you're dancing around and then you probably get hit.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at it and you think, why I oughta.
I was thinking that he would do a touchdown dance with the golden monkey. So he'd pull the golden monkey out of his bag and just spike the golden monkey on the ground and then start doing some sort of, silly touchdown dance.
I support that 100%. Now, could the golden monkey perchance break when he throws it on the ground and he's doing his dance and then he realizes the monkey's broken? Or are we just doing straight up football dance?
Well, maybe he throws it. Okay, this is the full fantasy behind this dance. So he's going to take the golden monkey. He's going to spike the crap out of it, and when it hits the ground, it's going to bounce like a football would, right? So it's going to fly away. He starts doing his little, dance or whatever. Then he comes to real Reno Jackson realization that he just spiked, $1 million artifact, and he's going to go and find it and pick it back up and put it back in his bag. All of that has to happen within your tiny little hitbox, but I think I like that.
Oh, it's doable. It's doable. We've learned these animators are gods among men when it comes to putting in a lot of detail in a little bit of time and space.
So that's that. I mean, must be included in the game when Reno makes it in. And yes, I said when Reno makes it in. We're going to call it there. We're going to say that Reno Jackson was forged. Man, I want Reno Jackson in the game so bad. Give us some Hearthstone characters, Blizzard. I think there's such a cool opportunity for things like Innkeeper, Reno Jackson, any of the League of Explorers, these characters that we've known and grown to love over the last couple years of Hearthstone. Bring them in.
Yeah, and honestly, I have no love for the Innkeeper. I'm going to say it right now. No one can change my mind. I respect the Innkeeper. But I'm not going to kid myself. I'm not a fan of goody-goody characters who don't have, human flaws. It just doesn't resonate with me. So Lucio, the Innkeeper, whatever. But you bring me Reno Jackson, and we've got ourselves a hero.
That's right. Yeah, after, I'm going to call it research, but after all the awesome, fun reading we've done about, over 100 different characters on this show, the ones that are most interesting to forge for myself as well are the ones that are like Reno Jackson, that are not perfect, that aren't, perfect beings to bring them into the Nexus. Even Varian has flaws. Like, even some of these characters have, deeper, darker backstories that cause them to do the things that they're doing now, even if they're doing them for good. We talked about that one Draenei that, he sacrificed a whole bunch of civilians so that he was able to, get vengeance, and that kind of stuff drives these stories forward. And for the most part, I think a lot of those characters have it in Heroes of the Storm.
Oh, definitely. And creatively, it's a lot more fun, too, because how do you create a support from a character who's generally in it for himself. When the support is usually a more selfless role, you're taking care of your team, you're babysitting them. So you get to have a bit more breathing room in that evil support kind of a way. And visually, how do you do it so that they do what they need to do, but they're still true to themselves?
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Kristen. Your kit was so great. I mean, the fact that, you're doing it, but, you're really doing it for yourself. And I think that the animations would be so important to portray that. Morales is out there with the healing beam locked on, like, this is what I'm doing. I'm healing you. I'm supporting you. Where Reno's animations would have to be like, oh, I'm here for myself, but it just so happens that you're getting benefit from it too, including the benefit of being around me.
Yeah, and I planned it, but that's just what happens when you venture forth with Reno Jackson. And I mean, kind of like yours too, where you're hitting the things, you're trying to get it to work, and then it shoots ink in your face or something before actually.
Yeah. And chat, this has a great idea. I mean, all of the characters that are in that Hearthstone cinematic at the beginning, we don't know their stories. The mage is out there, the innkeeper's in there as well. There's the one guy that sings, the tenor guy that kind of's got the huge physique. I mean, there's an opportunity to build some fun characters in there with some great backstories that possibly would be awesome heroes for Heroes of the Storm, which is what we talk about every week on this show. Bravo, Kristen, with your Reno Jackson build. So fun to talk about Reno. And hopefully we see him someday in the Nexus. Where can people find you, Kristen, if they want to check out all the awesome content that you put out there surrounding everything you do on the interwebs?
You can find me at Dream Destroyer, that is DRMDESTRYR, over at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
Did you finish up your, what was the game called, the one that we were doing for Valentine's Day?
Oh, Doki Doki Literature Club. We did finish it up, and the ending was wonderful. They actually did have some really good horror elements, even though it was a small team that put it together. And it's a dating sim, in a sense. But yeah, it went off the rails in a really cool way.
Very, very cool. Well, check out all of Kristen's stuff because it is interstellar. If you're looking for me, you can find me right here on HeroesForge. We record the show live every Sunday at 12 noon Pacific on twitch.tv/AmoveTV. Because we are a part of the AmoveTV Podcast and Entertainment Network, check out amove.tv. There is some serious content over there that is awesome to just consume as much of that media as possible. It helps me learn so much about all of these games that I love, and it helps me stay entertained during all of my commuting. So check it out, amove.tv. You can find this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any of your favorite podcasting apps. You can also check out our website, which is heroesforge.club. It has all of the information about where you can find us on Twitter at ForgeHeroes. Send us an email, contactheroesforge@gmail.com. And a huge thank you again to our patrons at patreon.com/heroesforge. Kristen, any final thoughts on Mr. Reno Jackson?
I actually think I came to like Reno Jackson more than Harrison Jones.
I agree. I mean, I have a backstory. I mean, through Warcraft, you play with Harrison Jones. Such a cool thing. I named my dog Harrison. I mean, so I love Harrison Jones. But Reno, he's quirky. There's a whole movie series that you could write about Reno Jackson.
There is, and like I said at the start, Reno feels more like a Blizzard character. Harrison Jones is a love letter to Indiana Jones, but Reno is their own take on it.
And this is our love letter to Reno Jackson, and hopefully we'll see him in the Nexus. Stay classy, everybody out there, and we'll catch you all in the real world.